You'd think I'd be an expert at this already. Oh gosh, I appreciate that. Thank you for for that, Max. Oh goodness. All right. So, all right. Uh, let's see. Cool. All right. I think everybody can hear now. Okay. Sorry about that. A lot of different buttons to click. All right. So, welcome, SFL family. It is Wednesday. I'm really hyped. You guys got to see me mime a little bit. You didn't know I was good at that. Anyways, some storms are coming through, as Angela alluded to. I'm hoping that the weather holds out a little bit for us, that it doesn't get severe, and things like that. But we are going to be having a lot of fun tonight. It is week 9. We're heading into week 9 on Friday night. Our games are final week of the regular season. Can't wait. Episode 13. Who knew that we'd make it to 13? I'm really excited about that. And we've got a full evening. Thanks for hanging in there and joining us an hour later. Appreciate that. Also, next week is the same time. Our normal time of 7 Central is taken up by the playoff games next week. So we'll be joining you even earlier. I think actually not 7 Central. It's even at their the first game is at 6 Central. 7 Eastern, which means we will be coming to you early, ideally at 5 Central for a little hour pregame show before the fun starts. Similarly for the championship game as well. Both hoping to do a pregame show and a postgame show as well. Anyways, well, let's get started. All right, so with me today, I have my main man, Daniel Wright, joining me again. Thanks for coming in,
No
being
problem. How
here.
you doing, guys?
Doing good, doing good. We
Fun
also
fact, Axel, before you continue on, my power went down 5 hours ago, so I'll tell you about weather as well.
wow. Okay, definitely. And we're joined by Frank, who will be joining us a little bit later. We'll be going through the excellent work that he's been putting in. I have some questions for him about what he does in his day job to allow him to do this kind of thing. Anyways, before we get too far into that, we have a couple people that we're going to be talking with. First on the line, we've got Ottawa Cavalry quarterback Scar Patterson is here, and joining him, we also have the Annapolis Navigators wide receiver Nick Lockett. How are you two doing tonight?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Well, it's an exciting thing for me also. This will be the first time I've done this.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being here. First, I've got a couple questions for you, just to to help me get to know you better. Tell me about yourself, Scar. A little like who is Scar? Who's the person behind Scar?
I'm a poor man just trying to get by. Uh, One of the things I do, I'm a football coach in my other life,
Yeah, cool.
and and I coach quarterbacks, and I'm a offensive coordinator. So I sort of get geek when I play the games.
Very cool. Nick, tell me about a little bit about yourself. Who is Nick Lockett?
I'm just a 18-year-old teenager trying to get through his final year of high school, trying to figure out what he wants to do, maybe sports management, which is
Oh,
also a good opportunity with SFL, yeah. And I'm just here on a journey and seeing where it takes me.
very cool. Very cool. So Nick, well, I've got you here. What has your SFLM journey been like for you so far? Is this your second season? Season, I want to say.
Yes, it is my second season.
Okay, what has it been like for you so far?
Well, I've gotten a dish from each bowl, from being with Birmingham Fuel, being what 1-7, having an up and down, but having great teammates. And then going to Annapolis, new coaching system and completely new scheme. Going what is it, 7-0 right now? It's you get a. I've gotten a weird experience that wouldn't get often, and it's very fortunate that I have a coach in Griffin, who has helped me along the way since he's gotten here.
Very cool. Very cool. Uh, Scar, tell me a little bit about your journey. This is your third season, is that right? Scar, you might be on mute.
That. Yes, this is the third season. I've enjoyed every year. Uh, One of the biggest things is going through this is just the camaraderie I've had, with the guys each year, and they've allowed me to somehow lead the team, and like I said, it's been great.
Very cool. That's great to hear. It's uh I know. So I've only been this is my sort of my second season, second year. I'm not in the SFLm anymore, but this is my second SFLm season that I've been taking along, and to see, and I've heard others rave about you. Whether that's Stefan Forge, who was a teammate of yours previously, and now current coach over there in your locker room. It's been great to sort of get to know you here. Sort of a mystery, if you will, to some people. So I really appreciate you stepping out and coming on the show.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to even listen to me. I think Stefan gets paid every week. That's why he's telling you those things. But I send him a check every Tuesday.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
it's just it's been fun having these guys and just being around them. I mean, I think it's really real to me, and I hope we could bring some of that to somebody else if I get a chance to get in the SFL.
Awesome. So tell me, Scar, what has been one of your favorite or most memorable memories in your SFLM journey so far? Is there a single moment, maybe it's recently or something that happened last season or the previous one, that stood out to you?
I tell you, last week was a freak out. I mean, losing that game the way it was, but it was fun. Sometimes those spontaneous things happen at a game, and I mean, it really geeks players, and definitely if you're a coach, it does, I'm sure. But last year, the third season, playing against Tacoma was probably an exciting game, for me. Just the nip and tuck thing there, the to and fro type things in the game, really excite. I'm sure it excites players and definitely excites fans.
Yeah.
But I I think that was the one that I really liked. That was against Mr. Reno there, and it's it was like a real pro game. So yeah, man, I really like that.
Very cool. For Nick, what has been one of your favorite moments so far in your journey so far?
Probably just meeting the players and just everyone so far. I didn't expect it to be as much as I thought it was coming in. Uh, I know you guys been doing this for a long time. Just being able to meet some of the people that I've come across, like uh, uh, my last year's coach, this year's coach, different perspectives, and then just everyone in the SFL general chat helping each other out, and just it's just really the community in general.
Yeah. And that's one thing that in talking with both of you and hearing from a variety of other players that I've talked to, both on the show and off, and that's even one surprising thing for myself as well, is I didn't come into this expecting to, meet what I'm hopefully, hoping will be lifelong friends and a great community that is there, in real life for you as well, sending DMs, hey, or how are you doing? Haven't heard from you for a while, or things like that. That's been really a great thing as part of this community that we've got. It's great to hear, reinforcing to hear from both of you. Nick, tell me, if you had to imagine your ideal pro team, a pro SFL team that you would be on, what are some characteristics or traits that it would have for you to say, like, this is the team that I want to be on? What is your ideal pro team like?
Honestly, I think that's what I'm living in right now, and with Annapolis, I love at the spread of everything. We have Square Bush where we can just ground pound the ball, but if he gets shut down in those very rare games or moments, we can easily flex out to our wide receivers, Darby, or even our tight end for like the short routes or just like those posts or anything. And it's just the spread of the ball is just amazing on how we do it. And if a team has that, I'm all for it.
Very cool. And now, Scar, similar question. What is an ideal pro team that you'd be looking to be drafted to? What characteristics would it have for you?
Well, personally, I, I would I would like to see a great defense. Uh, that sometimes that takes you a long way there, and you definitely have to fight through that. And then have a quarterback that follows directions and things like that to get you to the next level. Week by week, and have a guy in the backfield that's not afraid to run up the middle. Uh, I, I I see guys like Square Bush and guys like that. That's why those teams are doing as well as they're doing, and one has to have that to even think about even vying for a title. But the main thing to me is just to be the loyalty on the team. I mean, you could probably see this from high school all the way up to pro. And one thing that those guys have to be bonded together. You look at today playing in the pandemic, you have to be even more bonded together that you're going to try to be, clinically ready to play the game every Sunday or whatever day you're required to play. That's what I'd like to see in the team that I play with. We we worry about the next game, the next day, the next play, things like that. Sorry to be so long on that, but that's my
No,
passion for the game.
absolutely. No, it comes out, which is really exactly what we're here to do. So I appreciate you sharing exactly what you did. So, um, Daniel, do you have any questions for Scar or Nick?
Well, certainly, Scar. Pleasure to meet you. I was glad to see you on here. Um, so there's two quarterbacks I believe that can be drafted this season. I think there's two teams that really need quarterbacks. I could be wrong with this. And Scar, as you know, in the past, being 3 seasons in, quarterback is one of the hardest places to get drafted from. So I'm going to give you an open field. This is your open time to talk. Tell people in the chat, because we do have owners here in the chat. Tell them why you should be drafted this season.
Man, that goes against my stuff, but I uh, I think you'll get a guy that's 24-hour guy. I'm a team guy all the way. I mean, if you tell me that I'm going to go from quarterback to tackle, I'll do it. Uh, my big thing is to give you everything that I've got, and the hustle and those things like that. Just being a team guy, knowing what I'm supposed to do, what I'm required to do for you, is what I want to sell. And like I said, that every day is a 24-hour thing with the team. So that's who I am.
Very cool. And yeah,
Thank
how you started that, I have a lot of respect for you as well. Not wanting, it's difficult sometimes to toot your own horn, if that makes sense, especially in such a, coming onto a show and doing that. So I appreciate you taking a shot at
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
it's great. We do appreciate that, and I'm here to ask the hard questions sometimes or give the open podium. Mr. Lockett, I like to ask this with a lot of wide receivers. What makes you stand out to the other wide receivers? You do have a 7-0 season, but one might even say that Orain Darby's outplaying you. What do you bring to the table that might be different than the other wide receivers currently out there?
Uh, Probably flexibility. My build that I've went for is I kind of want to be able to be adjusted wherever I need to be played in the like offensive scheme. If I need to be playing deep threat, I can go do that. That's why I have around my height where it is. I can go up and get the ball. If not, I can go into slot and take those short passes or go the out routes, which you kind of see me go do in a couple of our games. Just I feel like flexibility is one of the main keys you should look for in a player, and I feel like I kind of offer that.
Well, thank you very much. That's all I had, Axel. So go right ahead.
All right. Well, thank you both for coming on. Is there any last words that either of you would like to say? How about we start with Nick? Any last words you have?
Not really. Just I just want to say I've just been enjoying the run that I've had with everyone in the SFL, and just want to say thank you.
Awesome. And Scar, any last words?
Well, I guess I'll just be the same there. I just want to thank you for giving me the time to express myself and just say hello to everyone in SFL. If you're looking for someone that's going to be 100% guy, I'd like to be your guy. So, Axel and you guys, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So that moves us into the next step, which is not quite. So previously, one thing that we've done is look back at the games that we've done before. I don't want to sort of step on any toes, but instead, I want to sort of hype up the SimPod because they're doing some really great game reviews and game predictions and game previews over at their YouTube. And this allows us to spend more time doing a variety of other things like community building, like talking with other players, like doing exactly what we're going to be doing a little bit after this with speculating things for the draft. So if you are really hungry for game reviews and a little bit of along with it, I'd say go check out the SimPod over on YouTube. But beyond that, what we are going to do is quickly, we're going to give a couple little our own, what is it? Selections for who we think might, our hot takes on who we would think might win these upcoming games on Friday. Not too much analysis, but who do we think might win? So again, our first game. Again, I don't know what the order of these is yet, but Friday night between 7 and 9 Eastern, Annapolis will be taking on Madison in Madison. Daniel, do you have a take on who might win? Who you think might win that game?
Well, I mean, Square Bush is Square Bush. O'Rein Darby's the deep threat. Gene Struthers can throw any type of deep ball you want, and their defense is solid. I got to give it to Navigators. It's really tough to argue against them with being a full team.
Yeah, for me, it's I have complete faith in Madison that we could do it. I'm not sure again how APF does its thing. If the game that we need to play is the game that will be aired, and so I'm hopeful, and I'm really curious, almost like an experiment, like a in a laboratory to find out what can Madison's defense do to Randy Squarebush and Gene Struthers. So I reluctantly, if I had to bet, I would probably bet on Annapolis being sort of in that realm, but I still have faith that Madison can pull out the upset. Frank, do you have any thoughts on this game?
I just think it's going to be Annapolis all the way. They're pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, cool. All right, the next one we've got is Boise at San Jose. Boise's been really hot with this the last few weeks, and I'm thinking that they have somehow found what they've needed to find, and with Doug Brown there in the backfield, I think if they plan right, they should be the front runners in that game. Daniel, what are your thoughts on that game?
Oh, funny enough, I believe when they were 0-4, I got up close to the mic and I yelled about their coaching staff, and now they've won 3 straight. So maybe I should do that again. Maybe no. We're gonna leave that alone. I am a big fan of Mr. Brown. I want him to achieve great things. We've seen it last season. I am hoping they pull it off because I want to see the comeback.
Gotcha. And Frank, do you have any hot take on that game?
No hot takes. Definitely, I think Boise is gonna take the W here and hopefully maybe should be in the playoffs.
Cool. And then we see the Wrestlers heading into Lexington to take on the Miners. This one, just knowing how dedicated Ethan Kai, the head coach of Lexington, is, I am figuring that I'm going to put the win in their column right now, just based on the sheer will of that man. So I'm Daniel. Do you have any thoughts on that game?
Okay, hot take here. Lexington plays up to the other team's standards in most games, right? They play good against the good teams. They play bad against the teams that are maybe a little less than 500. They're playing a 500 team. I think Salt Lake City gets it done.
Interesting. Okay. And Frank, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Really hoping for Salt Lake City. I think they'll get it. They seem to be pretty hot right now. They actually scored an offensive touchdown last week, so got a chance.
Awesome. And then finally, we've got Ottawa. The Cavalry are heading into Grizzly territory up northwest. I can only imagine that Tacoma will have probably one of their better games. They'll look more like the week 1, week 2 games that they had. Is my thought that they might be, we got to finish strong. This is their chance that they've got to get in there and take the playoffs by force if they need to. But I don't think that it will be easy. I don't think Ottawa is going to roll over at all. But I do have to give the edge to Tacoma there. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Well, we got 3 handsome Tacoma boys right here, right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to argue or get anybody angry at me. I know Reno's in the chat. He expects me to blow up because they still lost. But guys, you played great. You played great. Offense was standing. You just got to bring that to this game against Ottawa, and I think you guys will do it. I think Tacoma will get it done.
And Frank.
Yeah, I'm hoping as well. Tacoma should go and get it done. Just really got to hope for Salt Lake City to do what they need to do.
Yeah. You hear that, Reno? You hear that? Sorry, trying to channel my own inner Daniel. So awesome. So that sums up sort of our early preview games, our early sort of information, early show stuff that leaves a solid 35-40 minutes to get to what we're here to talk about tonight, which I'm hoping we're going to have a lot of fun. Some things that might be said that may come true. None of us have a magic crystal ball in front of us, but we're here to pretty much guess at what might be coming down the line for the season 18 draft. So, Frank, I want to say thanks so much for being here, for joining us tonight, and thanks so much for the effort that you've been putting into that spreadsheet and sort of the involvement, engagement that you've been having. It seems like this is something that is sort of a labor of love or a passion of some sort for you. Like you've somehow getting some sort of reward for the effort you've been putting in.
Not really. The reward isn't really what comes to mind. It's
okay.
More just something that's I find it fun to put together spreadsheets like
okay.
this and try to speculate what's happening.
Sure. I wasn't sure if like, do you do spreadsheets? Do you do that kind of thing for your day job or some other like, where did you learn to do this kind of stuff? Because there's some at least for a noob, there's some sort of spreadsheet, multi-tab magic that's going on back in there.
Yeah, it's don't really do it for my job at all.
Okay.
I make spreadsheets to make my job easier throughout the day, but that's about it. Nothing specifically spreadsheet oriented.
Okay.
I've always just done it. It's kind of a joke within my friend group of I'm always making spreadsheets about everything.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, we'll get into it. So we have here the spreadsheet. So you've done a great job. We've got a variety of things. On this one page, we've got the one tab, we've got the current rosters, which are updated with the reassignings that we've seen. We've got 3 rows of 8 alphabetical teams, each having, their 23 spots. We've got a lot of math in there that shows, how many are remaining, how many they've done. And towards the bottom, it shows information about salary caps and how much is left and things like that. Those that are in green are the free agents that were not with the team previously. So that's really cool. I appreciate, having this. And then you've got another tab, which we'll be using, which also is the draft order here. So we can sort of start to work through, the speculate what positions, what people might be picked for the draft. So right now, Tulsa has the number 1 draft pick. And again, between now and roughly, the 2 weeks from now when the draft takes place, there can be, and there was some of this last draft, where some teams are able to trade their draft picks back and forth a little bit. So we may see some changes in the draft order, all the way up to like maybe it's a day or two before the draft where it sort of gets locked in. But, so let's start with what we've got right now. So we've got Tulsa with the first round, number 1 pick. So we'll go back over to the roster. We'll find Tulsa in the bottom row. We'll move on over. Tulsa there in the blue. All right. So Tulsa, they've got the quarterback. The one glaring omission is running back. And Daniel, you can this is your team. This is the team you're on. What are your thoughts first on Sanzo moving over to wide receiver, which was a big move, which opens up this running back spot?
So funny you mentioned that because we did our signings pretty much in groups of 3 or so. Like one day, so much of us get re-signed. Next day, so much we get re-signed just to make it easier for Dion. And throughout all that, one name never got signed for the Lions, well, and that was Santo. I didn't know what was happening. It's good to see him come back as wide receiver. I think it's an interesting move. I think it is a move for the future. Santo, as we all know, uh, it was a wide receiver starting off. He wasn't a running back starting off. So he's going back to his roots. Now he's Raiden takes a hit because of it, but give 2 or 3 years, he'll be back to that game level that he was expecting. We all expect him to take a run back. Deion's in the chat right now talking that he's taking a 5th wide receiver. I actually believe that, man. He'll probably do that if he can. But I suspect a running back is coming first. That's just what I'm suspecting. I think that's what everybody's expecting. I won't be surprised if he takes an O lineman though, if he can.
Interesting. Okay. Because running backs, quarterbacks, and O linemen and kickers are the either those that have a need are vying for those top individuals, or though they're needed by nearly every team want to have one of them, and there's just not enough. One interesting thing that you have in here, Frank, is in the data tab towards the bottom is this sort of breakdown of how many are across, how many of each role are within the league. So right now we're seeing 21 quarterbacks that have been signed in the league. Right now we know of 2 teams that need a quarterback, and then there's Vancouver with Tom Pepper, where there's a big question mark right now of, is he going to sign one? Is Vancouver trolling us? Or is he simply not returning and maybe going to retire towards the end of the re-signing period? That's sort of an unknown. So seeing that, so again, looks like there's 3 running back positions that are out there. Tulsa being one of them. Colin Hart took the Louisiana one earlier this week. So of those, also in here, great job again. You've got all the information that you need here. We've got the running backs here, the SFLm running backs. Janet, do you have any thoughts on where which person might be picked, or what type of characteristics would the Tulsa's ideal running back have, perhaps?
So we did talk about this. Dion has been moving to character picks as of late, right? He picked me as a character pick to help the locker room, to change the culture. And I appreciate that he did. I love Tulsa. I think he takes a character pick as a running back, and the Sim Pod has a podcast. And I know that Dion was on the Sim Pod once upon a time. So I think he takes Douglas Brown.
Interesting. Frank, tell me, what are your thoughts on that at all?
Where I definitely thought Douglas Brown would possibly be number 1. I could also possibly see the Randy Squarebush with Sanzo not being there, and he was a power back. Was my other thought. Possibly even foregoing running back right away, because there are a lot of options there, and taking something that there's lesser of, like O-line. But I feel like if you have the first pick, you want to take what you have your eyes set on.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking too. That there probably is a standout running back that Dion is thinking of, and this is their opportunity. That's what you get the number ones for, is to pick the person that is sort of going to be your franchise player moving forward. Douglas having, I think for me personally, I think it'd be interesting. I think maybe Dion and Tulsa might be in the market, or be interested in switching up, going from a power balance, a non-finesse back, and choosing a finesse back like Douglas Brown as well. I think that might be a mix things back up, shake things back up for Tulsa. Give them a breath of fresh air even more.
Yeah, and to add a future note on that, Tulsa did sign a second tight end in their free agency. So now they have 2 tight ends and a fullback to help whoever is the running back break through the line already.
That is a big blocking core. And Frank, one thing I did not ask you, I've been sort of giving the tour around your spreadsheet. Is there anything you want to mention about your spreadsheet and things?
Nothing really special. You've gone over it with just
Okay.
the data tab with keeping track of how many people have been signed. That's about it.
And there's other additional great team by team information about how open spots and I found this interesting average, both value of the players that they've signed and then taking the remaining divided by how many they have remaining positions left, and coming up with a how much can they spend on perhaps additional free agents or in the draft upcoming. That was really fascinating for me. So I feel, hands down, the three of us, halfback to Tulsa, leaning towards Doug Brown, which is pretty cool. All right, that leaves us then with Sioux Falls. So if we move over to Sioux Falls, let's take a look at where they're at. So they too are on the hunt for a running back. I'm trying to remember, and I feel like I just looked at this yesterday with the plan to call it out today. I want to say Colin Hurt might have been a balance back, which makes me wonder if maybe they would try for Squarebush here. If let's say Tulsa takes Doug Brown, I think Squarebush would be the next logical choice for the number 2 pick, grabbing the running back. Frank, what is your thoughts on who they might pick?
I definitely think they would go running back here just to make sure they get their guy again. I don't know if they're going to go Squarebush or possibly like GP Wells is something I've been possibly thinking as well.
I could see that. I balance back is a tough cookie to crack as a running back because they don't quite have all the positives of finesse or all the positives of power backs, but they're somewhere in that middle spot. But which is they're sort of hard to get running. I know a few years ago or a few seasons ago, before the legend settings, Colin Hart helped them get to two. I want to say 2 or a handful, a number of playoff berths and championship games. So he had been able to do really well, but was struggling the last 2 seasons. Perhaps they go with maybe the more easier to use finesse back, maybe, and or the power back. But I don't know. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on which way they might be leading? You thought?
Okay, so let's just assume Tulsa takes a running back first, right? So that will leave them with one other team needing a running back besides themselves, with still 3 of the 4 horsemen. So I'm going to assume they're going to take a running back as well, but on the chances they don't, they do need a wide receiver and a tight end, and they have one offensive line already. So they might be in the market for a tight end first, but not a lot. And since we have 23 spots, a lot of teams might want a second tight end. So you always got to think about that factor as well. But I'm going to lean running back as well. I think they're going to take a running back.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to throw out the devil's advocate on what they might do otherwise.
Interestingly, last season, Sioux Falls did not have a contract tight end at all, and they went 4 wide receivers with the 20-man roster. That very well with 23 would probably change. Bring in probably a tight end in this season, but just sharing, the idea that they did not have a tight end last season. Cool. All right. So I think in general, for the most part, we're thinking running back. Just it's hard to tell where they might go, which way. Again, the Squarebush side of the coin or the GP Wells side of the coin. All right. So next we've got Fort Worth. So we'll jump over to Fort Worth. They are one of the teams that is in need of a quarterback. So I can only guess that they're going to use their number 3 pick for a quarterback. And I couldn't tell you one way or the other if they would go, to either of the 2 gold quarterbacks. Frank, do you have any thoughts on?
Since there are only at the moment, obviously things could change depending on what Vancouver does and everything.
Mhm.
At least if I were them, I would go offensive line. They don't have any of that yet, and it would help with everything they have going on. And then allow San Diego to take a quarterback and basically force them to take the quarterback they want.
Hmm.
And then that allows them to get most likely Scar Patterson, is what I'm assuming, because I think Johnny Reno is going to go to San Diego. But with Scar Patterson, will be available later, but they'll be able to get the lineman that most likely will not be available later.
Mhm. Very cool. Daniel, any thoughts on this?
Me and Frank was on a similar wavelength. I was thinking they would go kicker actually, because
Oh.
kicker is always needed in SFL. We saw a kicker last season go third overall, I do believe, if math serves me well. Pati went to DC. Um, so I was thinking kicker. They do need an O lineman too, so either one of those two positions. I don't think they'd take a quarterback, considering that only one other team at this moment. Don't know what happens with Tom Pepper. At this moment, only one other team needs a quarterback.
Gotcha. And looking at this, so there's 6 kickers available, and if we go to the data, um, there's only 17 in the league, which means that there's 7 open positions for kickers. Though some of the, I don't know, maybe, there's been 3 punters signed. I'm sure that they are staying. I don't know if there's any free agent punters or other kickers. I think they've been signed. Like Chance to Win was recently signed. So that means that there might be a drought, and there might be a couple teams that are unable to sign that kicker that they might be looking for. So that could play out. Similarly, obviously with the offensive linemen, very similar situation, because there are teams that have 2, if not even 3 offensive linemen. So that means there's a lot more than 7 teams that don't have one right now. And I don't believe there are very many. I don't think there are any other offensive line free agents out there available right now either. It depends on if they're willing to take, if they have their man and they want to take their man, do they grab them in that first round, or do they, like, we'd be happy with any, but with the second person, whoever that is, whoever isn't picked, we'll make it work with them. Then that might be the way they go. Very cool. All right. So next we've got DC. All right. Let's hop over there. So DC, here we go. DC, I could see them being, if any of the teams before them don't take OL, I think this is a team that has a high probability of taking offensive linemen here, with Kevin Say being I wanted to say he's the highest valued running back right now in a contract. They've got, their main players, 4 starting defensive backs. I could see there's a long list of linebackers. I feel like they could easily fill that linebacker ranks with many people, and I think they could do that in round 2 or round 3. But I feel like that offensive line might be the place that they're looking to go. Frank, do you have any thoughts on?
I definitely thought they'd be going probably offensive line, possibly defensive end.
Okay.
But I feel like with, like he's talking about Kevin Say, I feel like offensive line is probably the play there.
Daniel, what are your thoughts?
I was thinking defensive end. Personally, I think they need to fill up that defensive side. They're kind of lacking. They only got 2 cornerbacks, 1 free safety, 1 strong safety. They only got 1 linebacker and 1 defensive end. I think they go defense first, and then they'll start building off Say afterward.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right, we'll move on to Jacksonville. Jacksonville. Let's see. To work on my alphabeticals. So they're doing pretty good, I think, on offense. They've got 3 wide receivers. They've got 2 tight ends, 3 solid offensive linemen returning from last year. Solid out of retirement quarterback into season 17. Re-signed Willis there for a hefty paycheck. Their defensive backs seemed a little bit lacking. that might be where they stick some of their money. Frank, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is possibly kicker. Um, that's kind of one of the main spots, either that or possibly maybe going, since they don't have a safety there, or D tackle. But like I said, kicker is pretty much a commodity that a lot of teams need, so you might as well get it here. They tend to go early, like you said last year. Someone went number 3.
Mm-hmm. I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 kickers went in the first round, which was even really surprising. Daniel, your thoughts on this?
So if I'm looking at this right, everybody else has at least one strong safety. So I think they can take their pick on strong safety. So I would argue they would go for a kicker. Because as far as I know, with the 23 people, you got a little extra room to take kickers, to take your dime and nickel packages, defensive ends, things like that, or defensive backs. So I think they go kicker. Uh, if I have to take a long shot guess, I think they take. Well, they would have to take their strong safety, but they could also take a defensive tackle. They don't have
Mhm.
any currently.
Yep, I believe Mike all switched from defensive tackle to defensive end.
Yeah.
But also knowing Mike All, last draft, he was the one who I believe in all first 3 picks of theirs went OL, 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 just to sort of confuse people going what they were going to be doing, and perhaps to give extra protection to coming out of retirement Marcus Dunhill, quarterback. That's You guys are making some really great points with that. The strong safety, there's a pool, and if they're the only ones that are really needing it, kicker might be kicker or DT.
Yeah.
That's
Also, really nice thing to mention in the chat. DT is very light. There's only 2 defensive tackles right now. So yeah,
correct.
Jacksonville probably takes a defensive tackle.
And the 2 that are in that are as DTs, even though we know that DT and DE can swap during the draft, um, the DTs, the builds that they have are solid builds as DT, where the DEs coming over might not be quite as heavy, might not be quite as strong as the DTs are in a conversion. So that's might be something to consider is even if that getting a straight up born DT is a little bit better than getting a convert from DE to DT. So cool. All right. So let's go. We've got Denver then next. So Denver. Let's head over to not Chicago, to Colorado. That's the other C. So they've got pretty solid offense. You know, the not the line, but they've got the offense. They also have the defensive line is pretty stacked. They've got the pair of linebackers, and for the most part, they've got their starting defensive backs. Again, they don't have the nickel option yet, but that's something that you could fill in with even a copper. Daniel, you know that, right? You know, they can play pretty well in the nickel dime.
Oh, I know that pretty well, yeah. But it's nice to see that King is looking to get the start at free safety after 1 year in the major. So it's good to see that he's getting the start there.
Yeah, and they're one team again. They don't need to be looking for a kicker. They've got returning kicker Matt Fennett coming in. Frank, your thoughts on this at all?
My main thoughts on there is that a couple O linemen in my mind will have already gone. There's only a couple left besides maybe making a D lineman and O lineman.
Mm-hmm.
So I think here they would go all linemen because they're one of the teams with none.
And Bailey O'Shaughnessy was had a really great year this last year, and imagine if he had a left guard or a left tackle out there putting extra heavy blocks on these DEs and DTs, contract defensive linemen, rather than the generics. I think that's where my money would be, is offensive linemen here as well. Daniel, did you have any thoughts on who they might pick?
I say take O linemen. They need it, and we have seen defensive people get put onto the offense. Like Robert Crone last season for us, play defense, got drafted as part of the O line, so it can happen. I think they take a straight up O line if possible. Everybody's going to be in the market for one, so you got to take them when you can.
Absolutely. And yeah, seeing the notes earlier today in the position claim that the minors are closed until the start of the next SFL season in mid January. So what we have currently is who we have in the draft. So that's sort of locked down. Interesting little fact. So next we come to number 7. It's San Diego, and they are the second team then that needs a quarterback. There we go. There we are. So looking at that, so we've got running back, fullback, 2 wide receivers, tight end, an offensive lineman, DT and DE, stacked linebacker core, and their starters on in the backfield for the most part. What they're missing are kicker and quarterback. Frank, what are your thoughts on this team? What do you think that they might be picking, or what order?
My thought is, like I said, if Fort Worth goes quarterback, I think San Diego might go wide receiver or something else, and then get a quarterback later, since it's the only other team that needs one. Otherwise, I think if Fort Worth does go not quarterback, takes an O-lineman or something, I think they'd take a quarterback here.
Gotcha. Cool. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is I'm going to leave it to you, Axel. You would know more about this than I, since I talked about Tulsa forever. So
Sure.
I'll leave my thoughts with you.
Yeah, I think there's a glaring hole with the DT right there. And again, they're in short source. Either O-line or DT if they feel comfortable passing on the quarterback. So again, like you were saying, if Fort Worth does already take it, you're pretty much then the similar situation happened to Bailey O'Shaughnessy last draft, where Denver was in need, but they were the last ones in need for a running back, so they pushed him to, I want to say he was the third round, pick number 12 or something like that. But he was their guy, which was great. So it might be the same type of situation if they know who they're going to get by that point at QB, and nobody else is going to be bidding on a quarterback. I would say OL, DT, or kicker would be, I'm not sure. I think it's how do you feel in the moment at the time, and who's left on the board at that point. Very well could be like we need to snag an OL or something, or perhaps there's some free agents that come out of retirement or something that sort of swoops into one of these spots. So, all right. So Carolina. So now we're down to Carolina. Not sure what they've got. Let's see. So they've got the quarterback, running back, healthy wide receiver core, pair of tight ends, no offensive line. They've got their full defensive line, as well as a full linebacker regiment, and it looks like they're very set with 6 defensive backs and a kicker. So really, the only missing spot there is offensive line. And again, for me, if there are ones available, I could see them picking one. If there are not any available, I could see them perhaps in the market for maybe Hattori Hanzo, but I don't know if Shan is looking for just simply to go as a player, or is he looking for a coach spot, or willing to go anywhere kind of thing and help him out with scouting and things. So I'm either thinking OL or fullback is my thoughts. Frank, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts, basically just looking at the contract or the salary cap situation there. I think they basically have to go punter.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because there's only one punter available, and that's a very low value, and it allows them to actually take something else the next round. So they otherwise have to restructure if they take 2 other people that aren't a punter.
Wow. Or that's maybe where the 2-way contracts can come in, where they can maybe draft somebody at a lower value than what their current value is at. But again, that requires, I don't know if that's that. I think that needs to be equitable on both sides, or agreed upon, like being willing to take them at the lower value. Interesting. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so that's very tough because I was leaning towards fullback because there's gonna be like one offensive line, but their salary is so tight that he made a good point. Punter is not very high for value, so they might go punter, save the fullback for the second round or third round, because more people will be looking for their offensive line. And we still have, I think we have, how many punters we have? We got 4? Or not punters, fullbacks.
Kickers? Oh,
Yeah,
fullbacks? I think there's 4,
fullbacks.
yeah.
Yeah, so they got 4, so they can still probably get one in the second round. So I like the idea of punter here.
And I'm looking in so both Eddie and Jacob mentioned that Hattori has already strong connections with Carolina, and so it sounds like maybe that might be a lock for Hanzo to go there at fullback this year, perhaps. So
yeah, but that is what, 63 value added on, so you have to take a punter at that point,
or sign Hattori to a 2-way. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
drop him down to a base copper or something and let him progress through the year and get slowly better. But a copper player is better than a generic player at that position. So this is starting. The first few, I felt pretty solid about, but now we're getting into like, will there even be offensive linemen left? Will there be kickers left? This is where, as we get further and further down. So we got to Houston. I know Hanzo was working with them earlier this last season, and then I think stopped halfway through the season. Let's see. So we've got Houston. H-I-J. Goodness, why am I?
they're right next to Jacksonville.
Okay, sorry, they were sneaking over there. Oops. All right, so we've got they too. They what was it? Murray was their running back that was retired now. So they're looking for a running back. I'm not too familiar with what Murray was. If he was a power, balanced, or finesse. I almost say that if GP Wells is not taken here, I think he might be a good fit for them. Very explosive runner out there. Or obviously Brad Jones might be someone. And we didn't really talk about Brad either for Sioux Falls, but I could see him being a good fit there as well, replacing Colin Hart if they're looking at wanting to continue with the same type of running back strategy there as well. Frank, do you have any thoughts on this team?
At this point in my mind, there's only one offensive lineman left. I think they probably go that because if the first 2 teams do go running back, they basically can just pick anybody. They're the only ones that's left. So
Gotcha.
Might as well pick the last offensive lineman in my mind.
Gotcha. And it looks like on defense, for the most part, they're not missing any key members. It's just continuing to fill that secondary out with some nickel and dime slots or nickel and dime players. And then, waiting in line for a wide receiver, being happy with someone coming in from, maybe somewhere in that middle of the pack there. But yeah, I think, like you said, it might be, if they're the last ones with the running back that needs a running back, they can choose to wait and snag what is scarce. Daniel, what is your thoughts?
Yeah, so in my mind, they don't need a running back this early. Because, like Frank was saying, they already picked 2 running backs. You can wait, take your time. If there's an O-line, there might be, there might not at this point. We don't know what the draft happens. So, but in my mind, they want an O-line, they want a nickel or dime guy, and they want running back, right? That would be the 3 spots they need. So, assuming they get O-line, but let's say they don't. So, where do they go from there? They might take a kicker, try and turn him into a punter. You can do that, right? You can turn a kicker into a punter.
I believe so. Kicker to punter, punter to kicker.
Yeah, so they might take a kicker, try and convert him to punter, have a talk with them, and try and take a punter if they can't get an O-line.
Gotcha. Because then it's ultimately you're looking at, again, backup individuals that are part of the 21 through 23 players as well. That's fascinating. All right. Let's see where we're at right now. Let's do one more, and then we'll end for the night. We're getting, it's getting close to 9. I do have one little last thing that I want to do as well. So we've got Portland. Let's go check out Portland. And there they are. So they've got returning quarterback O.J. Brewer from the draft last year. Strong standout running back Ezekiel Love. Fullback, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. No O-line. They've got a solid... Their defense looks pretty stacked. Pretty good returning individuals coming back. And no kicker. So again, Frank, like you said, theoretically, it might be that there are no offensive linemen left, which means that they go kicker. Or maybe people are going for kickers and there might be an O-lineman left. But it looks like those might be other than, picking up a wide receiver eventually, it seems like that might be their main 2 high priority pieces right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts, if there's O-lineman, probably O-line, otherwise kicker. But they actually do have a sizable amount of cap left. So if they have a wide receiver that they really like towards the top, I could possibly see that as well, since they only have 2.
That's true. And they're both under 100. And, Gene Valentine still 4 points away from 100, where a lot of other, OJ is starting to get up there in value and in ability. Proved himself pretty well last year. Maybe someone, like you said, that's really a fascinating point. Like, maybe can they get someone who will be coming in and maybe it's the Shane Kaufman, right, or the Mike Savage coming in. And with these next 2 progressions, so we just finished a progression. We have 1 more progression, and it might be that the values that you might be seeing out there in the here, as well as out on the site, looks like Mike Savage literally just this week with this progression had saved and was able to take an animation to bump himself up to gold, because he was silver in the previous week, last week. So it might be others are in the process and they might change. They might be getting an animation or bump up a little bit with this final progression. Daniel, what were your thoughts on what Portland might take?
Okay, so we're making the assumption offensive line is out of the market, right? Because otherwise everybody's going to take offensive line until they are gone. Wide receivers, I think they can wait till the second round for, because there's a lot of good wide receivers in this pool. I would go kicker, because we just saw teams before them take kickers or punters, vice versa. So I think we're starting a trend here where all the teams start to take kickers if they can. Because right now they need what? They got 4 picks they can get, assuming they don't sign anyone in free agency up to this point. I would say wide receivers 1. I say they go for a second tight end to help out Ezekiel Love even more. They take someone for nickel dime. That's 3 spots, leaving 1 spot open for the kicker. So I think they go kicker here.
Very cool. And so we're at 10 right now. So many more of, like, if we keep going, it's all dependent on what our hypotheticals were in from 1 to 10. And with the clock edging towards 9 o'clock, what I want to do actually is I want to talk to you, Frank, just a little bit. The man behind the spreadsheet, the man behind who Frank is. And I'm wondering, I'd love to ask you a few questions about you and your player. If you will sort of end the show with a little interview of you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. So tell me, who is Frank Bernstine?
Well, my real name's Colin. Frank Bernstine, the player itself, was the first ever player that I drafted in a Madden league that I used to run with a couple friends, and it kind of just stuck. We kind of all
Awesome.
had the players that we kind of stuck with us over time.
Sure. Very cool. What is your so you came in just this, was it during the season or was it just before the season?
It was before the minor season, but in the middle of the actual season.
Okay, gotcha. So it was like around August or something. Is that?
Yeah, around there.
Okay. Cool. How's it been for you so far?
Really liking it. I wasn't sure how it really was going to go, but I think honestly, like Johnny Reno being there on my team as the quarterback, he really showed me around a lot and kind of introduced how a lot of things go. But yeah, really enjoying it so far. Meeting a lot of cool people and being able to spend some time doing some stuff that I enjoy.
Very cool. Tell me about the same question that I asked Nick and Scar. Tell me about the ideal traits, or the traits of your ideal pro team. Like, what are you looking for in a team that might per se draft you?
Basically looking for like a good locker room, people that I can talk to if I do have questions about stuff that I'll be able to answer. It seems the minors are kind of like, there are the people that stand out that do talk a lot, which is kind of cool, but then there is a good chunk of people who kind of stick to themselves, it seems, maybe stick to their own team. But it would be cool just to have a locker room that I can talk to.
Cool. Daniel, do you have any questions for Frank at all?
Yeah. Frank, how you doing? Former Tacoma team as well. We're all Tacoma boys here. People ask, and I want to know as well, how do you get your beard so smooth? I love that beard.
Honestly, I probably don't really deserve it because I probably don't take care of it as much as I should. I have some oils and stuff that I do occasionally use, but most of the time it's just honestly showering and shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah. The people want to know, and we delivered as much as we can. Frank, if there was a team you really want to go to, I assume you've already talked with them. You told them what kind of locker room feel you want and stuff like that. Do you have any good or bad feelings about this upcoming draft? Do you feel like that you are in a good spot to get drafted?
When I first was here, I didn't expect to be drafted at all. If I don't get drafted, that's perfectly fine. But I have had a couple teams talk to me. I haven't really reached out to anybody because I'm not, like I said, too worried about being drafted. But I have had one team basically say that they're pretty committed to take me a bit later, and I'm not two-way.
Very
Well,
cool.
there you go, guys. Now find out who that team is. That's all I got. Actually, go right ahead.
Awesome. So, Frank, any questions or any final statements you'd like to say at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Just want to say thanks for having me on here. It's a lot of fun. Enjoyed it a lot.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to come back, we're here for you. So cool. All right. Well, that sort of wraps up our show. Thank you all for coming. And I hope this was sort of fun. One other question for you, Frank. You had mentioned, in some DMs and things, are you planning on creating and publishing sort of a mock draft as we get closer and closer to the draft time?
I do plan on doing it. I kind of last night spent a bunch of time doing a very, very rough preliminary one, which I was thinking of possibly releasing, but I don't know. It's kind of a little bit too rough. But yeah, definitely when it gets closer, when everything's more finalized, I'm definitely gonna put one out.
Very cool. And yeah, this is, come this weekend after the game and things. I think people will be starting to chomp at the bit for things come Saturday or Sunday or Monday. And it's not, having been here through the last draft, it's not uncommon for these drafts to be, oh, I released one and we find out a little bit more. And then, oops, we released one 2 days later or a day later or something, or we tweaked it. Here's version 2.2 or something. So anyways, well, I appreciate you being on here. Thank you so much for all the hard work you're doing in this, for coming on here and talking with us about this. And Daniel, thank you for joining me again tonight. And thank everybody for joining in tonight. If you have any questions, reach out. Hit us up in the Discord. Really excited about. Other couple other things. So tomorrow night we've got the SFL schedule release show that's coming up. Friday night we've got all of our games. Saturday night we've got the All-Star game, East versus West. So we have a lot of things to look forward to. This is sort of night one of 4 nights of fun. So anyways, enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks for joining us an hour later. Thanks for sticking with us through the show. And I hope you learned a little bit of something. And let's have fun. Let's come together as a great community and let's go.
Axel, before you stop, Eddie Gage just said in the chat, say it with your chest tomorrow at 8 Eastern. Lock
Excellent. 8 Eastern, 7 Central. If you're not part of that Discord, we can hit up Eddie or hit up me. We'll send an invite to you. You can join in on the conversations. You can add questions to it. It's a great show. Was on it a few weeks ago. It's just fun anytime. Cool. Awesome. Let's have fun. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your night. Talk to you all later. Bye.
See you later, guys.
See you.